$1.2 billion. For a single ship that most Americans don't even know exists, that never appears in fleet photos, that conducts operations the Navy will never publicly acknowledge, that operates in waters where American warships supposedly aren't present. This isn't an aircraft carrier, isn't a destroyer or cruiser, isn't even a traditional amphibious assault ship. This is USS Lewis B Puller, SB-3, an Expeditionary Sea Base, a floating special operations platform specifically designed to support Navy SEALs, Special Warfare Combatant Craft crewmen, Marine Raiders, Army Special Forces, and other special operations forces conducting missions that exist in the gray zone between peace and declared war. And right now, this very moment, ships like USS Puller are positioned in the Arabian Gulf, the Mediterranean, the Western Pacific, serving as floating bases for special operations forces who launch from these vessels on missions the public will never hear about. Conducting boarding operations against suspicious vessels, gathering intelligence on adversary activities, interdicting weapons shipments, countering terrorism, preparing for contingencies that might require direct action. The operators living aboard these ships aren't conventional military personnel. They're the most elite warriors in the American arsenal. Navy SEALs who completed BUD-S, basic underwater demolition/SEAL training, with attrition rates exceeding 75%. Special Warfare Combatant Craft crewmen who navigate armed boats through hostile waters in darkness. Intelligence specialists who process information that determines mission success or failure. And they're living and training on a billion-dollar platform that was purpose-built for exactly this mission. Not a ship modified for special operations. Not a conventional vessel with added capabilities. A ship designed from the keel up to be a floating special operations base with everything needed to sustain complex missions for months at extended range from traditional bases. So, what actually happens aboard these ships? How do special operators live when deployed on floating platforms? What training continues during operations? How does a $1.2 billion vessel support missions that require absolute precision, complete stealth, and the ability to strike targets that adversaries believe are unreachable? And most importantly, why does America invest billions in ships that most citizens don't know exist, conducting operations that will never be publicly acknowledged, supporting warriors who operate in shadows? USS Lewis B. Puller isn't a traditional warship. It's built on a commercial hull, specifically an Alaska-class crude oil carrier design, modified extensively for military operations. This commercial heritage provides several advantages. Size. At 784 feet long and displacing 90,000 tons fully loaded, the ship is massive, larger than most amphibious assault ships, comparable in size to aircraft carriers from previous generations. That size provides space for berthing, operations centers, equipment storage, maintenance facilities, aviation operations, and small boat operations. Endurance. Built for transoceanic commercial operations, the hull design emphasizes fuel efficiency and extended range. The ship can remain on station for months without refueling, providing persistent presence in areas where regular port calls would compromise operational security. Capacity. The flight deck accommodates 4 helicopters simultaneously, MH-60 Seahawks, MH-47 Chinooks, even V-22 Ospreys. The mission deck, a massive internal space, stores small boats, vehicles, containerized mission equipment. The ship can embark 250 plus special operations personnel plus support elements. Flexibility. The design includes reconfigurable spaces. Mission equipment can be swapped based on operational requirements. Containerized systems, communications, intelligence processing, weapons storage can be loaded or removed depending on mission profiles. But what makes USS Puller revolutionary isn't just size or capacity. It's the integration of capabilities specifically tailored for special operations. Well deck. Unlike traditional carriers, the ship has a stern ramp and internal well deck, allowing small boats to launch and recover directly from inside the ship. Special operations craft. Mark V special operations craft, combat rubber raiding craft, rigid hull inflatable boats can be staged internally, launched covertly, and recovered without being visible to overhead surveillance. Aviation facilities. The flight deck includes maintenance capabilities, refueling systems, and ordnance handling for sustained helicopter operations. Special operations helicopters conducting missions can rearm and refuel aboard ship without returning to distant shore bases. Medical capabilities. A full surgical suite with operating room capabilities handles combat casualties. Special operations missions often occur in areas where medical evacuation to shore facilities would take hours. Shipboard surgical capability saves lives. Intelligence Operations Center. A classified intelligence processing space with secure communications to national intelligence agencies provides real-time intelligence to operators. Mission planning spaces with classified networks enable detailed rehearsals and coordination with external assets. Maintenance facilities, machine shops, electronics repair, weapons maintenance spaces allow special operations equipment to be maintained and repaired aboard ship rather than requiring return to shore facilities when systems fail. This isn't a ship that happens to support special operations. This is a ship designed around special operations requirements, a floating base that brings everything operators need directly into the operational area. Walk into the berthing spaces aboard US Puller, and the first thing you notice is that they're nicer than standard Navy berthing. Not luxury accommodations, this is still a military vessel, but designed with recognition that special operations personnel deploy for extended periods under high stress and need quality living spaces. SEALs and special operators get two-person staterooms, not racks stacked 4 high like regular enlisted berthing. Actual small rooms with 2 beds, desk space, storage lockers, and private bathroom facilities. The staterooms are small, maybe 100 square feet, but they provide privacy that's almost unheard of for enlisted personnel on Navy ships. Why better berthing? Because special operations forces deploy differently than conventional forces. A SEAL platoon might conduct operations every 48-72 hours for months. Between missions, they need genuine rest. They need space to maintain equipment. They need privacy for mission planning and rehearsal. Cramming them into standard enlisted berthing would degrade readiness and effectiveness. The ship also provides dedicated spaces for special operations units. Team rooms. Each SEAL platoon or special operations element gets dedicated space for mission planning, equipment maintenance, and team coordination. These spaces are secured, only team members have access. Inside, operators maintain weapons, prepare equipment, conduct planning, and brief missions. It's their space, configured however they need. Gym facilities, special operations personnel maintain extraordinary physical fitness. The ship provides a fully equipped gym, far more extensive than standard Navy ships. Cardiovascular equipment, free weights, functional fitness areas. Training continues during deployment because readiness depends on maintaining peak physical condition. Rec spaces, dedicated areas where operators can decompress between missions. Gaming systems, entertainment, comfortable seating. Mental health matters for sustained operations. Providing spaces where operators can mentally separate from mission stress improves long-term effectiveness. Dining facilities, special operations personnel eat in the same mess deck as ship's crew, but mealtimes are flexible. Operators conducting night missions sleep during the day and eat when mission schedules allow. The galley accommodates irregular schedules that don't align with standard Navy mealtimes. But don't mistake better accommodations for luxury. This is still a ship operating in hostile environments. Operators accept that comfort is relative. The staterooms are small, berthing is still shared, privacy is limited. But compared to deployed land bases in conflict zones or the back of helicopters and boats, shipboard accommodations are downright comfortable. On conventional Navy ships, routines are predictable. Reveille at 0600, quarters at 0700, watch rotations on fixed schedules. Everything structured around ship operations. On US Puller, the routine depends entirely on operational requirements. When missions are scheduled, everything revolves around mission support. When the operational tempo is lower, the focus shifts to training and readiness maintenance. A typical day for embarked SEAL platoon during moderate operational tempo. 060080. Physical training. The platoon conducts group PT, running on the flight deck, functional fitness in the gym, swim training in the ocean if conditions allow. Physical readiness isn't optional. It's maintained religiously regardless of circumstances. 080009. Breakfast and personal time. Operators eat, handle personal business, coordinate with teammates. 090200. Mission training. This varies based on current capabilities needing emphasis. Maybe it's close quarters combat drills, practicing room clearing, hostage rescue procedures, immediate action drills. Maybe it's communications training, practicing with satellite communication systems, working with intelligence feeds, coordinating with other assets. Maybe it's medical training, refreshing combat casualty care skills, practicing trauma procedures. 12 euro, 13 euro, lunch break. 13 euro, 17 euro, equipment maintenance and mission preparation. Weapons maintenance is constant. SEALs clean and inspect rifles, pistols, machine guns. Check night vision devices, communications equipment, diving gear. Everything is inspected, tested, and maintained to standards that ensure zero equipment failures during operations. 17-0-18-0. Mission brief, if operations are scheduled. Intelligence updates. Final coordination. Weapons distribution. Pre-mission checks. 18-0-20 dinner and downtime before night operations. 20-0 plus mission execution. Launch from ship. Transit to objective area. Conduct operation. Return to ship. Post-mission debrief. Equipment turnaround. Sleep, or if no missions are scheduled. 20-0-22 evening training. Night operations practice. Small boat operations. Helicopter operations. Specialized skills maintenance. 22-0 plus personal time. Sleep. Recovery. The schedule is demanding, but sustainable. Unlike combat deployments in war zones where operators conduct missions continuously for weeks, ship-based deployments allow for recovery periods between operations. The ship provides secure environment where operators can rest, train, maintain equipment, and prepare for the next tasking. Training aboard US Puller isn't classroom instruction. It's realistic rehearsal of skills that determine mission success and operator survival. Small boat operations, the ship's well deck, and stern ramp enable realistic boat training. SEAL platoons practice launching at night, navigating in darkness using night vision, coordinating multi-boat operations, conducting approaches to simulated targets. The WCC operators, Special Warfare Combatant Craft crewmen, who drive the boats train constantly because their skills directly impact SEAL insertion and extraction success. Helicopter operations, with embarked helicopters, SEAL platoons practice fast rope insertions, descending thick ropes from hovering helicopters onto ship structures, simulating buildings or other objectives. They practice helicopter casting, jumping from helicopters into the ocean with full equipment. They rehearse coordinated air-ground operations where helicopters provide support while ground elements maneuver. Diving operations. When the ship is in suitable water and operational security permits, SEALs conduct diving training. Combat diving with closed-circuit rebreathers that don't produce bubbles. Subsurface infiltrations approaching the ship as if it were a target. Underwater navigation, and lock-in/lockout procedures. Live fire training. When the ship is in open ocean away from shipping lanes, the crew sets up floating targets. SEALs conduct live fire drills from boats, from helicopters, from ship decks. Shooting from moving platforms in maritime environments. Maintaining proficiency with all weapons systems under realistic conditions. Boarding operations. This is a primary mission for ship-based SEALs. Intercepting suspicious vessels. Boarding and searching ships that might be transporting weapons, drugs, or contraband. The training is continuous, approaching vessels, climbing rope ladders and caving ladders, breaching doors, clearing spaces, securing personnel, searching cargo. Scenario-based training. The ship's crew acts as role players for complex scenarios. Hostage rescue rehearsals using ship spaces configured as buildings or compounds. Non-compliant vessel interdictions where ship's crew play the role of hostile mariners. Intelligence-driven scenarios based on current threats and missions the platoon might actually conduct. The training is intense because missions are real. Every skill practiced aboard ship is a skill that will be used on actual operations. The boat navigation techniques rehearsed at night in calm seas will be executed in rough weather approaching hostile shores. The boarding procedures practiced in training will be used on actual suspect vessels. The close quarters combat drills will save lives when operators enter rooms occupied by armed adversaries. And the training environment is extraordinary. Where else can Special Operations Forces conduct realistic maritime operations for months continuously? Where else can they launch from secure bases, conduct training, recover immediately, and immediately prepare for the next iteration? Shore bases provide limited maritime access. Ships operating in forward areas provide daily opportunities for realistic training in operational environments. Most operations conducted by SEALs deploying from ships like US Puller are classified. The details won't be revealed for years or decades. But the general categories of missions are known. Maritime interdiction operations, stopping and boarding suspicious vessels, searching for weapons being smuggled to hostile forces, intercepting drug trafficking vessels, inspecting commercial ships for compliance with international sanctions. These missions happen constantly in areas like the Arabian Gulf, the Mediterranean, and waters off East Africa. Intelligence gathering, operators conducting reconnaissance of coastal targets, deploying sensors and surveillance equipment, photographing facilities and activities, collecting information that informs national security decision-making. These missions are completely covert. Targets never know they were observed. Direct action, raids against high-value targets, capturing or eliminating terrorists, weapons dealers, or other threats. These missions are rare, but extremely high risk. They occur when intelligence indicates time-sensitive opportunities that require immediate action. Theater security cooperation, training partner nation forces, conducting exercises with allied militaries, building relationships and capabilities that strengthen regional security. These missions are less dramatic, but strategically important for maintaining alliances and access. Contingency preparation, rehearsing missions that might be ordered on short notice, embassy evacuations if diplomatic facilities are threatened, hostage rescues if American citizens are taken captive, strike operations against emerging threats. The SEALs maintain readiness to execute these missions even if they're never actually ordered. The operational tempo varies. Some periods involve missions every few days, boarding operations targeting smuggling routes, reconnaissance of developing situations, training exercises with partner forces. Other periods are quieter, focused on training, maintenance, intelligence monitoring, and readiness sustainment. But even during quiet periods, the presence matters. Adversaries know American Special Operations Forces are in the region, know that ships like US Puller are positioned nearby, know that provocative actions might trigger responses they can't counter. That deterrent effect, the psychological impact of Special Operations presence, prevents conflicts that would otherwise occur. The SEALs get the attention. The special operators get the recognition. But US Puller functions because of the Navy sailors who operate the ship, the engineers maintaining propulsion systems, the deck department handling seamanship and small boat operations, the supply personnel ensuring food and parts availability, the intelligence specialists processing information. Feeds. The aviation crews maintaining helicopters. Approximately 180 Navy sailors crew US Puller. They operate the ship 24/7 in all conditions. They stand engineering watches monitoring propulsion. They navigate through congested waters and hostile areas. They operate the cranes and material handling equipment that load and offload special operations gear. They maintain communication systems connecting the ship to national command authorities and intelligence networks, and they coordinate directly with Special Operations Forces. Navy small boat operators launch and recover SEAL boats. Navy helicopter crews fly Special Operations helicopters, inserting operators into target areas. Navy intelligence specialists provide operators with real-time updates during missions. Navy corpsmen, the medical personnel, treat injuries and prepare for potential combat casualties. The relationship between Navy crew and embarked Special Operations Forces is critical. The Navy sailors know their job is supporting operators conducting dangerous missions. They maintain absolute professionalism. They don't ask questions about classified operations. They execute their support functions flawlessly because they understand operators' lives depend on ship systems working perfectly. And the operators respect the Navy crew. They recognize that ship operations are complex, demanding, and performed by professionals with different skills. The mutual respect creates an integrated team where sailors and operators function seamlessly despite coming from different communities with different cultures. USPuller isn't just a floating base. It's an intelligence node integrated into national collection systems. The ship receives intelligence feeds from satellites, reconnaissance aircraft, signals intelligence platforms, human intelligence sources, and partner nation agencies. This information flows into the ship's Intelligence Operations Center, where specialists process, analyze, and disseminate it to operators. Mission planning depends on intelligence. Before SEALs board a suspect vessel, intelligence specialists provide information about the ship's cargo, crew composition, potential threats, and hostile force capabilities in the area. Before reconnaissance missions, operators receive imagery showing target layouts, defender positions, and environmental conditions. Before direct action raids, intelligence confirms target presence and provides pattern of life analysis showing when targets are vulnerable. And intelligence collection continues during missions. Operators wear body cameras that record operations. Signals intelligence systems intercept adversary communications, providing real-time updates on enemy responses. Overhead assets provide imagery showing the operational area. All of this feeds back to the Intelligence Operations Center, where specialists synthesize information and provide updates to operators. Post-mission analysis is equally important. Intelligence specialists debrief operators, analyze collected information, identify intelligence gaps, and generate reports that inform future operations. The intelligence cycle continues: collection, analysis, dissemination, collection, supporting the continuous operations tempo. The classified nature of this intelligence work means it's never publicly discussed. The sources and methods remain protected. The information that drives targeting decisions stays secret. But the intelligence capability is fundamental to special operations effectiveness. Without intelligence, operators are conducting blind missions with unacceptable risk. With high-quality intelligence, missions are precise, targeted, and achievable. Every special operations mission carries risk. Operators might be injured during infiltration, during the mission itself, or during extraction. The difference between survivable injuries and fatal casualties often depends on medical care in the critical first hours. USPuller provides Level 2 trauma care, surgical capability sufficient to stabilize critically injured personnel. The medical department includes Navy doctors, physician assistants, nurses, and independent duty corpsmen with advanced trauma training. The surgical suite can handle emergency operations, gunshot wounds, blast injuries, traumatic amputations, the kinds of injuries that occur during combat operations. The medical team can stabilize patients, conduct damage control surgery, and maintain them until evacuation to advanced facilities is possible. And the ship stocks blood products, medications, and equipment required for trauma care. In forward-deployed areas where medical evacuation might take hours, shipboard surgical capability saves lives. The medical team trains continuously. Trauma drills simulating mass casualty scenarios. Surgical practice maintaining skills. Coordination with operators rehearsing medical evacuation procedures. The doctors and corpsmen maintain readiness even when actual casualties are rare, because when injuries occur, response must be immediate and flawless. Every operator knows medical capability is available. That knowledge provides confidence during missions. They're not operating with the assumption that injuries are fatal. They know the ship has medical professionals and equipment ready to treat them if worst-case scenarios occur. Critics question the cost. $1.2 billion for a single ship. Couldn't that money be better spent on other priorities? The calculation is more complex than simple sticker price. Operational access. Ships provide forward presence in areas where land bases aren't available. Maintaining shore facilities in many operational areas is politically impossible. Ships operated in international waters avoid sovereignty issues. Operational flexibility. Ships move. Today they're in the Arabian Gulf. Next week they're off the Horn of Africa. Next month in the Mediterranean. That flexibility allows special operations forces to respond to emerging crises without the logistical challenges of moving personnel and equipment through multiple countries. Sustained operations, shore bases require force protection, logistics support, political agreements with host nations. Ships are self-contained. They bring everything needed for months of operations without external support. Capability integration. USPuller integrates boats, helicopters, intelligence processing, medical care, maintenance capabilities, and living spaces into single platform. Replicating these capabilities ashore would require multiple facilities costing far more than $1.2 billion. Force protection. Ships operating offshore are harder to attack than shore facilities. Terrorists can't infiltrate shipboard facilities. Mortars and rockets can't reach ships at sea. Force protection costs for shore bases are enormous and still don't provide the security inherent to maritime platforms. When evaluated against alternatives, the cost becomes reasonable. The capability provided, mobile, sustainable, integrated support for special operations forces in forward areas, simply couldn't be replicated through other means at lower cost. And measured against the missions conducted, counterterrorism operations that prevent attacks, intelligence gathering that informs national security decisions, deterrence that prevents conflicts, the value provided exceeds the investment. The Navy is expanding Expeditionary Sea Base capabilities. USS Herschel Woody Williams, SB-4, and USS Miguel Keith, SB-5, are operational. More ships are planned. The concept is proven, the capabilities are valued, and the demand from special operations commanders exceeds available platforms. Future ships will incorporate lessons from initial operations. Enhanced aviation facilities, improved small boat operations, expanded intelligence processing capabilities, better integration with unmanned systems, both aerial and maritime, that extend the reach of embarked forces. And the missions will evolve. Great power competition with China and Russia creates new requirements. The special operations forces deploying from these ships will conduct missions focused on countering adversary activities, supporting allied nations, and maintaining freedom of navigation in contested areas. The ships will be part of distributed maritime operations, operating in coordination with surface combatants, submarines, and air assets to create integrated presence that complicates adversary planning and demonstrates American commitment to regional security. Right now, Navy SEALs and other special operations forces are living aboard ships like USPuller, conducting missions in your name. Missions that protect American interests, that counter threats before they reach American shores, that gather intelligence informing national security decisions, that support allied nations facing hostile pressure. These operators volunteered for the most demanding training in military service. They endure selection processes that eliminate 75% of candidates. They maintain readiness through continuous training and deployment schedules that keep them away from families for months at a time. And they do it from platforms most Americans don't know exist. Ships that cost over $1 billion but provide capabilities that can't be measured in dollars. Floating bases that enable operations that keep Americans safe, even though Americans will never know the details of those operations. Type respect for our special operators if you appreciate the SEALs and Special Operations Forces conducting missions from these ships. Hit that like button if you learned about capabilities you never knew existed. Share this with anyone who questions defense spending without understanding what capabilities that spending provides. And if you've served aboard these ships, if you've supported special operations from maritime platforms, if you've been part of the silent service conducting classified missions, know that Americans appreciate your service even if they never know the details of what you did. $1.2 billion, USS Lewis B Puller and her sister ships. Purpose-built platforms supporting the most elite warriors in the American military. Navy SEALs living in two-person staterooms, training continuously, conducting missions that will never be publicly acknowledged. SWCS operators navigating boats through hostile waters in darkness. Intelligence specialists processing information that determines mission success. Navy sailors operating the ship that makes all of it possible. This is American Special Operations capability. Forward deployed. Constantly ready. Operating from platforms that provide security, sustainability, and flexibility impossible to achieve through other means. The missions conducted from these ships prevent attacks, eliminate threats, gather intelligence, support allies, and deter adversaries. The value provided is impossible to quantify, but absolutely critical to national security. And it happens in silence. Professional. Classified. Effective. That's how Navy SEALs live and train on a $1, $2 billion special operations ship. That's the capability Americans purchase with that investment. That's the reality of modern special operations. Quiet professionals conducting critical missions from platforms most citizens never knew existed.